You ever get the feeling that while you're out building a future, someone's back home dismantling everything in silence? That was me. I wasn't out partying, I wasn't chasing attention, and I damn sure wasn't sleeping in. I was working day in, day out, grinding in one of the toughest cities in the country, New York. I lived in a modest two-bedroom apartment in the Bronx, nothing fancy, but it was clean, organized, and paid for with honest work. I had two jobs. Monday through Friday, I worked underground for the MTA as a subway maintenance technician. You know those guys in the fluorescent vests fixing the tracks and crawling through tunnels at ungodly hours? That was me. Then, on the weekends, I worked stock at a warehouse in Queens. Early morning shifts, loading, unloading, moving pallets, rain or shine. And in between that chaos, I studied. I was in my final year of a part-time business administration degree at a community college in the Bronx. My dream was to start a contracting business. Not glamorous, not sexy, but real. Something I could build. Something solid. And I thought I was building that life with someone who shared the same values. Natalie came into my life when I was just starting the second job. We met at a small community dinner organized by my church. She was volunteering, serving plates, smiling at everyone, wearing a simple dress and sneakers. She had this calm energy that felt like home. We talked for hours that night, and by the end of the week, we were inseparable. She told me she admired my discipline. She loved that I didn't drink, didn't smoke, that I had ambition. For the first year, everything felt like it was on track. She encouraged my studies, packed me lunch sometimes, even offered to help with laundry when I came home too exhausted to lift a finger. I never asked her for any of it. I just appreciated it. I thought, this is what a team looks like. After 2 years, we moved in together. I had saved enough to put down first and last month's rent, plus a deposit. She was working part-time at a nail salon and doing a certification course to become a dental assistant. I paid the bills. I told her not to stress. I believed in her. But slowly, the rhythm changed. I didn't notice at first. I was too busy chasing our future. At some point, she stopped making coffee in the morning. She started waking up later, sometimes hours after I left. Then came the nights where she didn't wait up for me. I'd get home from school after 10 p.m. and find her already in bed, phone in hand, scrolling through Instagram or TikTok. We stopped eating together. The affection began to fade. The little things vanished. No more questions about how my day went. No more kisses on the cheek before I left for the subway yard. At first, I thought she was just tired, maybe overwhelmed with her studies, the city, life in general. I brushed it off. I didn't want to be that guy. Suspicious, needy. That wasn't me. I kept doing what I always did. Work hard, stay loyal, stay focused. But the more I gave, the more distant she got. The signs were there. She started talking more about freedom and space. She started following fitness influencers, going out more with new friends she met through a program. Her wardrobe shifted. Shorter dresses, more makeup, even heels on casual Wednesdays. I'd ask where she was headed, and she'd say, out with the girls, like I was asking something inappropriate. Still, I stayed silent. I kept telling myself, she's just finding herself. She'll come back around. But deep down, I felt the gap between us growing wider by the week. It got to a point where I realized I didn't recognize the woman I'd chosen to share my life with. But I never changed. My alarm still went off at 5 a.m. sharp. I still packed my own breakfast, ironed my work shirt, and kissed her forehead, even when she pretended to be asleep. I still took the D train to 42nd Street and clocked in on time. I still took night classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, walking past bars filled with couples laughing over cocktails, while I walked alone to a classroom. People in my class called me the machine. Professors respected me. At the warehouse, I was the guy they called when things got backed up. I was steady, reliable, and I never asked her to match my pace. I just asked for presence, for loyalty. You'd think that doing everything right would mean something. That being the man who pays the bills, stays out of trouble, and builds toward the future would earn you respect. But no, sometimes being good, being grounded, being boring in a world addicted to attention gets you left behind. I kept thinking about the promises we made when we moved in together. I'll be your peace, she told me once when I was venting about a bad day. But now, I come home and feel more tension inside my own apartment than I did on the job site. She didn't cheat. Not that I knew. But disrespect has many faces, and one of them is indifference. When someone no longer cares where you are, how your day went, or whether you slept okay, that's when you know they've already left, even if their shoes are still by the door. I tried to talk to her. Once. We were in the kitchen. I just gotten home. I told her I felt like something had shifted between us, that I felt alone in the relationship. She didn't argue. She just looked at me and said, "You're always tired. You're not fun anymore." That was it. No fight. No follow-up. Just that cold little line. And that's when I knew this woman didn't see me anymore. Not the way she used to. She saw a man who paid the rent, not a man she loved. And when someone stops seeing your soul, the next step is always the same. They go looking for a thrill elsewhere. She didn't have to sleep with anyone for me to feel betrayed. She just had to stop appreciating what she had. And she had. That's why, the night she went out and left me sleeping, like I didn't matter, I didn't feel surprised. I just felt confirmation. Because I was no longer her home. And she sure as hell wasn't mine anymore either. I didn't know then what I was going to do next. But I knew one thing. The man I was, he didn't deserve to be left behind like that. And when morning came, she'd feel exactly what it's like to find the door locked. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. I remember that night down to the smallest detail. Not because something explosive happened. Not because of some dramatic confrontation. But because of how quiet it was. How quiet I felt inside. It was a Thursday. I had just finished a 12-hour shift underground with the MTA. That day we had a track power failure south of 34th Street. And I spent most of the day sweating in tunnels, trying to fix an issue that should have been resolved hours before I clocked in. By the time I got off the subway at Fordham Road and walked up to our apartment, it was close to 7:30 p.m. I was drained. My shoulders were heavy. My boots were coated in grime. But I felt that same tiny flicker of peace that I always did when I reached our door. Like no matter how rough my day had been, I could rest my head next to someone who was mine. But when I stepped in, I knew something was off. The apartment was too clean. The lights were dim. The living room smelled like her expensive perfume. One she never wore unless she was going somewhere important. There was no dinner on the stove, no soft music in the background, none of the usual signs that she'd been relaxing or cooking or existing inside that space. And then I saw her. She came out of the bedroom wearing a tight black dress I'd never seen before, heels that made her taller than usual, and a full face of makeup. Her hair was done, her nails freshly painted, and her eyes didn't look at me the same. Not with warmth, not even with tension, just nothing. I stood by the door, holding my work bag. She glanced at me quickly and said, "I'm heading out with the girls. Don't wait up." Just like that. I wanted to ask questions. What girls? Where are you going? Why tonight? But I didn't. I swallowed it. Maybe I didn't want to seem insecure. Maybe I didn't want to look like the jealous husband who can't handle his woman having a life. Or maybe I was just tired of fighting for someone who clearly didn't want to be fought for anymore. So I nodded. All right. She didn't kiss me. She didn't say goodbye. Just grabbed her purse and walked out. I heard the click of the door. Then silence. I took a shower, warmed up some leftovers from the night before, and sat in front of the TV. I didn't even know what I was watching. My mind was racing, even though my body was too exhausted to keep up. I looked at my phone around 10 p.m. No message from her. At midnight, still nothing. I climbed into bed. I stared at the ceiling for a while, then turned over and closed my eyes. My chest felt tight, but I forced myself to sleep. Around 3:18 a.m., something woke me up. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the way the hallway light hit the bedroom wall. I turned over and reached for her. Empty. I grabbed my phone and checked the time. Then I checked hers. No text. No missed call. I got out of bed, walked barefoot to the living room, and looked out the window. Nothing on the street below. Dead quiet. I didn't panic. I didn't scream. I just stood there, looking at the empty sidewalk. This wasn't the first time she had gone out without telling me where or with whom. But it was the first time she didn't even pretend to care how I felt about it. I waited. At 6:30 a.m., my alarm went off for work. I got dressed like I always did. Black pants, thermal shirt, boots, hoodie. I poured myself a cup of coffee. Sat at the edge of the bed again. Still empty. And then I heard a car outside. I peeked through the blinds and saw a black Uber pull up to the curb. She stepped out slowly, adjusting her heels, her makeup now smudged, hair tangled from the night. She was still wearing that same tight dress. Her walk was unsteady. She looked around and then walked up the steps to our apartment door. That's when I stood up, walked over to the lock, and slid the bolt into place. She knocked. I didn't answer. She knocked again, louder this time. Marcus, open the door. I stood there quiet, calm. She tried the handle and realized it was locked. Marcus, seriously? Still nothing. I took my work bag, slung it over my shoulder, opened the side door to the fire escape, and stepped out without a word. I walked past the front steps as she stared at me, stunned, mouth slightly open. Are you really going to act like this? She asked. I didn't look at her. I just kept walking. She shouted after me. I heard her voice getting sharper, more desperate. I heard her throw something against the door behind me, but I didn't turn back. Because that night, something inside me broke. Not because she went out, but because she made it so easy to leave me behind. She made it so easy to forget that I was the one who kept the lights on, that I was the one who gave everything I had, every hour, every drop of energy, to make our life better. And she threw it all away for a night out. A dress and a lie. That's what she chose over me. She didn't know it yet, but the man who had always opened the door for her, who always came home no matter how tired he was, who always forgave and overlooked and swallowed his pride. He was gone, and the one who replaced him, he doesn't open doors anymore. He closes them, firmly, without apology, because respect doesn't beg, and love doesn't sleep alone while the one you love dances in the arms of someone else. That morning, when I locked that door, it wasn't revenge. It was clarity. And once you see things clearly, once the fog of loyalty and hope finally lifts, you can't unsee it, and you never open the door again. When I came home that evening after leaving her locked out in the morning, I didn't expect an apology. I didn't expect honesty. I didn't even expect her to still be there. But she was. She was sitting on the front steps, arms wrapped around her knees like a child who had been abandoned. Her makeup was mostly gone, but her expression hadn't changed. It was still full of arrogance hidden behind panic. That look women wear when they're not sorry about what they did. They're just scared you're actually reacting. As I walked up the steps, she stood up quickly. Marcus, please, she said, reaching for me. I stepped aside and unlocked the door. Wait, can we talk? I didn't do anything wrong, she insisted. I looked at her, not with rage, not with hate, just with silence. Then I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. I didn't slam it. I didn't yell. I just left her outside, staring at the same doorknob she used to turn without hesitation, back when she still respected what lived inside. That's the thing about boundaries. They start in silence. You don't need to scream to reclaim your self-respect. Sometimes, all you have to do is stop explaining. I didn't ghost her. I didn't pack her things and throw them out the window. I just sat down, took my boots off, and made myself dinner, like it was any other evening. She kept knocking, then texting, then calling. The text started off simple. Open the door, babe. I'm sorry. Then came the guilt trips. I didn't deserve this. You're being immature. Followed by the threats. I'll call the police and say you locked me out of my own home. That one made me smirk, because she knew damn well the lease was in my name. Her name wasn't on anything, by her choice. When we moved in, she said she wanted to depend on me. That night, I gave her exactly what she asked for. I let her depend on herself. An hour later, she left. Took another Uber, probably to her sister's place or a friend's couch. I didn't care. I didn't even check. The next day, she came back. Tried again. I let her inside this time. She came in crying, sniffling like a child caught in a lie. She dropped her purse and started pacing the living room. I didn't cheat on you, Marcus. You know that, right? I didn't answer. I sat at the table and kept reading the textbook for my night class. She kept talking. It was just a night out with the girls. We had drinks, we danced. That's it. You really think I would disrespect you like that? I looked at her, then slowly closed the book. Disrespect doesn't start with cheating, I said calmly. It starts with indifference. It starts when you stop caring if I'm okay. When you walk out without a word, come home at sunrise, and expect the door to be open like nothing happened. She froze. That silence hit her harder than anything I could have yelled. I needed space, she said. You're always working, always tired. I don't even feel like I have a partner anymore. Just a provider. That was the knife. Right there. Not the cheating, not the lies, this moment. I had worked myself into the ground for years. Paid the rent. Bought her groceries. Supported her when she quit her job to study. made sacrifices. And now I was being told that being a good man, a responsible man, made me less of a partner. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just stood up, walked past her, and said, "You have 3 days to find another place to stay." She laughed, thinking I was bluffing. "You're kicking me out now." "No," I said. "You left already. I'm just helping you make it official." She stormed out again, slamming the door this time. But the weight of that slam didn't shake me. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. She tried to act like things could go back to normal. She made dinner one night and texted me a photo. "Your favorite," she wrote. I didn't respond. 2 days later, she left a card under the door. Something about love, forgiveness, how couples go through phases. But love doesn't survive on memories. It dies in the small moments when respect is denied and trust is slowly buried. I was done trying to rebuild something that only I'd been maintaining. I filed for separation the next week. I didn't announce it. I didn't post anything online. I didn't call her mother or ask her sister for opinions. I just walked into the clerk's office in Manhattan, filled out the paperwork, and mailed it. When she was served, she showed up at my door one last time. This time with tears. Real ones. "You're really doing this?" I stood in the doorway. She was shaking. "I thought we could fix it," she whispered. "You thought I wouldn't mean it," I replied. She broke down then, hands to her face, sobbing like she had just realized the gravity of her actions. But it wasn't the separation that crushed her. It was the silence, the absence of begging, the lack of drama. I hadn't yelled. I hadn't tried to win her back. I had simply walked away, and that's what she couldn't handle. Some people think love is about forgiveness at all costs, about second chances on demand. But love has terms. Real love includes respect, effort, and showing up when it matters. She didn't. And now, months later, I live alone in a new apartment in Harlem. It's smaller, cheaper, simpler, but it's peaceful. I come home, and there's no perfume in the air that doesn't belong. No forced smiles. No late-night girls' nights. No more sleeping beside a woman who treated loyalty like a leash. She still texts sometimes. Says she's working on herself. Says she misses the man I was. But that man doesn't live here anymore. He left the day the door locked. And he's not coming back.